And for more on this developing situation, I'm joined now by Joshua Walker, a transatlantic fellow at the German Marshall Fund. He formerly worked at the US Embassy in Ankara. So, Joshua, you've lived in Istanbul. You've used Ataturk Airport. What's your reaction to what's happened?
You know, it's just deep sadness. This seems to keep on happening to Turkey, and to see a place that you love and to know that it's the gateway to Turkey and to Europe and to Asia for many people, to see it be attacked in this vicious way, it's just sadness.
And you've used this airport yourself. Can you just walk us through what it's like going through security? Because it's pretty secure, isn't it? That was always my impression.
It is very secure. The only other place I've seen that's been this secure is actually in Israel. There's a checkpoint before you can even get inside to even check in for your flight or to go meet loved ones for your baggage claim. What a lot of people are now saying is maybe the outside perimeter is not as secure, but the airport itself is extremely secure, and that's why this is the first time we've seen an attack of this type in an airport.
And Turkey has suffered multiple attacks in the past year, hasn't it, from different groups?
That's been one of the biggest challenges. No one's taken responsibility yet, but it could be one of any three groups. It could be the Islamic State, which seems to be the most likely contender at this point in time, the Kurdish terrorist organization, the PKK, or a leftist communist party that has attacked the U.S. Embassy and the consulate before. And it's, you know, one after another. It's not just in Istanbul, it's all across the country. Turkey is going through this major spasm of violence.
And what do you think the reaction is going to be here in Washington, and what's it going to mean for relations between Washington and Turkey?
You know, I hate to say this, but unfortunately it takes a crisis to bring people together. And I think despite all the bickering and all the problems that the U.S. and Turkey and maybe some of its other allies have had because of domestic politics, because of what's going on in Europe, I think that this type of attack will bring both our intelligence services, our strategic thinkers together, try to figure out how do we do this together. Because this attack on the airport is not just an attack on Turkey, it's an attack on all Western allies that are standing together with Turkey against the fight.
And Turkey's been in this peculiar position, hasn't it, with this civil war going on just there across the border in Syria, and Turkey and Washington haven't always been speaking from the same page, have they, in terms of Turkey's role there?
Absolutely. You know, it was not from the beginning that Turkey and Washington saw eye to eye. They still don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. The Turks see the Kurds as the largest threat. Washington sees ISIS. Maybe an attack of this sort will change that, but they have been working very closely for the last year, and perhaps one of the reasons Turkey has become such a target is because it's on the front line and because it is allying itself with Washington. There are costs to being the U.S. ally, and the question is, how can we support them in this?
And knowing ordinary Turks as you do, having lived amongst the people there, how have you seen the mood shift in your time there? And what do you think this latest attack will do to people's states of mind?
You know, the thing that's both sad to say but also proud to say, if you know any Turkish people, is just how resilient they are. They've been suffering attack after attack. A lot of my friends after this attack, when I texted to see if they were okay, they said, it's just another attack, Joshua. It's a devastating thought to think that this has become the new normal in Turkey, but it has in many ways. Istanbul has had the largest attacks in the last couple of months and weeks, and when you see where they're attacking, this airport is something that maybe shakes the West even more because we go through there. But I think that for an ordinary Turk, this is becoming a way of life.
Washington has been critical of President Erdogan for becoming increasingly authoritarian. How do you see them getting over that difference now?
You know, I think particularly in a moment of crisis like this, actually having somebody that's a strong leader and having a president that's trying to consolidate all power from the police force to the military and the different cabinet level secretaries is actually a good thing in some ways. So I think that we won't be focusing as much about the domestic politics for a while. I think we're going to focus a lot more on how we can work together and have counterterrorism efforts.
Turkey is this bridge between Europe and between Asia, and President Erdogan is there right in the middle. How do you see him moving in the wake of this attack?
I think the action will be swift. I think the fact that they attacked this airport, which is called the Istanbul Ataturk Airport, the founder of the republic, someone that Erdogan very much sees himself aligned to. This is going to be personal for him. And I think anybody that knows Erdogan knows there'll be a swift response, not just rhetorically. Also the fact this happened during Ramadan. It's hard to underestimate. This happened right after the iftar, the breaking of the fast. There's no more sacred time, just like our Thanksgiving, to have something horrible like this happen.
And there must be shock here in policy-making circles in Washington. Yet another attack on an airport, which, as you say, to us in the West, it represents freedom of movement. But now to so many Turks, it represents terror.
Of course there's shock, but unfortunately I think many people have been saying for a while that this is what we should expect. Until you can stop the civil war in Syria, until we're able to come together with a coherent policy of some sort, we shouldn't expect anything less. And unfortunately this has shown our vulnerability as the Western world, and also what Turkey is going to have to go through and how, what can we do moving forward.
And on that civil war in Syria, do you see any evidence of any new thinking coming out of either Turkey or out of Washington on how to end it?
You know, I think unfortunately in Washington we're focused on an election, and until that election happens, it's going to be hard for any administration, including their current one, to move us in a new direction. I think in Turkey there's been a lot of new thinking. There's been a new cabinet reshuffle, a new prime minister, a new team in place. So there's a lot of thinking in Ankara right now, but that's because they're so much closer to it. It's easier in the West to kind of ignore and forget what's happening in Syria until attacks like this happen. All of a sudden we focus our attention again on the fact that there are people, including Western interests, that are being targeted because of their alliance with the United States.
Joshua Walker, thank you so very much indeed for joining us.